All right, guys. We have a quiz on Tuesday, and you guys are going to know this stuff so well. It's going to be so easy for you guys come Tuesday if you pay attention and you practice doing this. All right. I suggest that you try these on your own at first, and then when you get stuck, you take a look and see how I did it, and then do the same thing with the next one and the next one. I think that would be the best practice. But if you don't, you don't, but I think that would be best. All right. Just my suggestion. Don't have to take it. For these right here, it looks like we're supposed to FOIL these, but when it's set equal to 0, it's actually easier. We take the first parentheses and we set it equal to 0. And then afterwards, we take the second parentheses and we set that equal to 0. So let's do first things first. 3x plus 4 equals 0. When we do this, I like to, we're solving for x, which means we want to get x all alone. When I say all alone, we want to get x all alone on the left side of this line, this vertical line that I drew down the middle of the equals. In order to get x all alone, there's two things that we have to move. We have to move the 4, and that's a positive 4, and we also have to move the 3. Now, the 3 and the x, they are smushed together. And when things are smushed together, a number and a letter, you want to leave that for the last thing to do, which means the first thing we're going to move is that positive 4. And if we move that positive 4 to the other side, that means on this side, we have to make it equal 0. So we're going to have to minus 4 on this side to make this equal 0, because 4 minus 4 is 0. I'm just going to cross it out because I don't have to write a 0. But because we did this minus 4 on the left side, we have to do it on the other side, because this tells us that it was equal. That it was equal. Teddy, I'm doing something here, Teddy. Can't you see? So when we do the minus 4 on both sides, now it's going to stay balanced. So let's see what we have for our next step, our next line. On the left side, we bring down this 3x. It becomes 3x on the left side. On the right side, we bring down the minus 4 because it's 0 minus 4. We're going to solve for x, which means we have to get rid of the 3. Now, when we do this, the 3 and the x are multiplying together. We have to do the opposite. We cannot subtract 3, and we don't move the x. We divide by just 3. We do not touch the x. When 3 divided by 3, that's going to give us 1x or just x. We usually don't write the 1. So x equals a negative 4 over 3. That's one of our answers. We took care of this first parentheses. Let's take care of the second parentheses. X plus 2 equals 0. We want to get the x alone, which means we have to get rid of what? We have to get rid of the positive 2. I have to move it from one side to the other. In order to get rid of something on one side, I have to do the opposite because I want to make it equal to 0. But if I do something to one side of the equation, I have to do it to the other side of the equation. 2 minus 2 cancels out. X equals negative 2. That is our other answer. So I'm going to highlight our answers in green here. Next, number 2. Is it set equal to 0? Yes, it is. Do we have a GCF? Well, let's see. We have x squared, which is really x times x, and we have x over here. So what's the common? What do they have in common? Well, I have 1x over here, and they have 1x in common over here. Okay, it's always going to be the smallest number that they have in common. This is really x to the first. So it's just x that they have in common. We take out our GCF on the outside. and then we start a parentheses. We divide by our GCF. Sometimes it's easy to put a 1 in front of this to make it a little easier. And also, you can put an exponent of 1 up here because that makes it easier as well. We're going to divide x to the second power divided by x to the first power. When we divide exponents, we really subtract them. That's a Nintendo DS. 2 minus 1 is x to the first, or just x. X times x is x squared. 6 divided by 1 is a positive 6. X's cancel out. When you have an x on the outside, you have to set that equal to 0. And we also have to set the parentheses equal to 0. The first one is simple. X equals 0. We set it equal to 0. That's one of our answers. This is one of our answers right here. The other one, we have to do x plus 6 equals 0. Subtract 6. And we get x equals negative 6. That's our other answer, and that's it. Not too bad. Number 3. 3 looks like what we did the last couple of weeks, factoring trinomials. We have a squared at the beginning, x squared at the beginning, an x in the middle, and a regular old number at the end. It's set equal to 0 already, and we're looking for a GCF. We don't have a GCF. X in the first, x in the second, no x in the third. So there's no x as our GCF. If I put a number here, 1, then 1 is going to be my GCF, which is really just like not having a GCF at all. So then once we have this, we're going to break out our big red X. The top of the big red X is going to be negative 27. That's 1 times negative 27. The bottom is going to be 6, and I get that from here. The middle number with the X goes at the bottom. Now I need to find the sides. I need to find two numbers that multiply to a negative 27. What are my signs going to be to multiply to give me a negative? One is going to be positive, one is going to be negative, and they will subtract because those signs are different on the sides. They're going to subtract to give me 6. What two numbers multiply to 27 but subtract to give me a positive 6? Let's try all the numbers that multiply to 27. 1 times 27. 27 minus 1 is not 6. That's a 1. Trust me. 2 doesn't go into 27. 3 times 9. 9 minus 3. Is that 6? It is. I mean, the signs have to be correct. It has to be a positive 9, a negative 3. 9 minus 3 gives me 6. Can we do the shortcut here? We sure can. The sides of our x is our answer, but not our final answer. The sides of the x is our answer in factored form. So we have x plus 9 and x minus 3. But we have to set each of these equal to 0. And we solve. Subtract 9. We get x equals negative 9. Add 3 over here. We get x equals a positive 3. Those are our final answers. On the other side, do we have a GCF? 5, 2, 7. We do not. X is not our GCF either because there's no x in this last term. So we're going to do our rainbow method, 5 times negative 7. And we're going to break out our big red X. What goes at the top? What's 5 times negative 7? Negative 35. What goes at the bottom? Negative 2. We're going to find two numbers that multiply to 35 or negative 35 and will add to a negative 2. Now I say add, but I really know, but let's find the signs first on each side. They have to multiply to give me a negative. So one has to be a positive, one has to be a negative. And when the signs are different, they're actually going to subtract to give me this 2. So two numbers that multiply to 35. Let's see what multiplies to 35. 1 times 35. 35 minus 1 is not 2. 2 doesn't go into 35. 3 doesn't go. 4 doesn't go. 5 times 7. 7 minus 5. Is that 35? Yes, it is. We do have to make sure it's a negative 2. So I'm going to have to do a positive 5 minus 7. If you put that in your calculator, you're going to get a negative 2. You can't do positive 7 minus 5 because that gives you a positive 2. We do not want a positive 2. We want a negative 2. All right, let me get my face out of there for a minute. Okay. Once we have the sides of our x, can we take the shortcut? No, we cannot. Why can't we take the shortcut? Because the number in front of the x squared here is bigger than 1. So if we can't take the shortcut, once we have the sides, then we go to work. When we go to work, we get out our shovels. When we get out our shovels, we dig out the middle. The middle is gone. And we rewrite the beginning. We have 5x squared. We put the negative 7 at the end. And the middle is going to be what we have on the sides of our x, plus 5x minus 7x. I'm going to throw some parentheses around the first two terms and the last two terms. And now I'm going to go get my GCF. I'll go back to green. 5 and 5. What's the GCF? It's going to be 5. X squared and x. What's the GCF? X. Divide by 5x. And start a parentheses. 5x squared divided by 5x is x. 5x divided by 5x. As long as the top of the fraction is the same as the bottom of the fraction, you're going to get a 1. What's the third number here? Because we need the sign of the third number. This is the first number here. Let me get that out of there. I didn't like the way that looked. This is our first number. This is our second number. This is our third number. This is our fourth number. The third number has a minus with it, so we bring down the minus in the middle. And what's the GCF of 7 and 7? That's going to be 7. Start your parentheses. We're dividing by negative 7. Negative 7x divided by negative 7 is just x. Negative 7 divided by negative 7, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. I have my factored answers now. This is one of them, x minus 1. I don't write it twice, even though it's in both parentheses, x minus 1. My other answer is going to be 5x minus 7. And we're going to set each of them equal to 0. We can do x minus 1 equals 0, and 5x minus 7 equals 0. Add 1 to both sides, we get x equals 1. Add 7 to both sides here. We get, I'm going to finish on the right side here. We get 5x equals a positive 7. Divide by 5, and x equals 7 over 5. All right, hopefully that one wasn't too bad. All right, we're going to do 2 more here, and then we'll take a little break before we do the last 4. All right, number 5. When we do these, we are setting everything equal to 0. So everything on the right side, we want to get rid of. We don't want anything on the right side. So in order to get rid of everything on the right side, we're going to do the opposite and move it to the left side. Minus 7x squared. Minus 2x. Plus 2. I'm going to put my vertical line down the middle. If I do something to the right side, I also have to do it to the left side. And I'm going to put the x squared, the minus 7x squared, right under the 8x. The negative 2x goes under the 5x. And the plus 2 is a regular number. It goes under the other regular number, the 8, and the 2 are in the same column. This cancels out. This cancels out. This cancels out. On the left side, let's see what my next line is going to be. 8x squared minus 7x squared is 1x squared, or just x squared. Negative 5 minus 2 with an x is negative 7x. 8 plus 2 is 10, equals 0. Now I have the classic trinomial, x squared, x, and a number. I'm going to get out my big red x. At the top is going to be a positive 10. At the bottom is going to be a negative 7. I need you to find me two numbers that multiply to a positive 10 and add to a negative 7. What are your signs going to be on the sides of the x? Well, they have to multiply to a positive, so it has to either be two positives or two negatives. They have to add to a negative, so it has to be two negatives. And because the signs are the same, they will add to give me 7. What multiplies to 10 and adds to 7? That's going to be 2 and 5, and they're both negative. I have the sides of my x, so let me check now if I can do the shortcut. I can do the shortcut. Thank the Lord. Because x squared does not have a number in front of it. Okay? That's why we can do the shortcut. There's just a 1x squared, or nothing in front of the x squared. We know it's a 1. So we can set the sides of the x equal to 0 and then solve after that. The sides of the x, we put x minus 2, x minus 5, but we set them equal to 0. Plus 2, x equals 2. Plus 5, x equals a positive 5. That is our final answer. All right, let's do number 6, and then I'm going to take a break. We have to set it equal to 0. We got to get rid of this negative 4 and bring it over to the other side. In order to get rid of a negative 4 and make it equal to 0, I'm going to have to add 4. Now, I'm not putting this directly under the 7x. It looks like it, and I guess it kind of is. But in my mind, I'm putting it in its own column because it does not have an x with it. It's just a regular old number, and there's nothing else up here that is a regular old number. So in my mind, I know that it's in its own column. So the next line, I'm going to bring down everything. There's nothing to combine. There's no like terms to combine. 3x squared comes down. 7x comes down. Plus 4 comes down equals 0. X squared, x and a number. Classic trinomial. First number times last number. 3 times 4. Get out your big red x, would you? At the top of the big red x, 3 times 4 is 12. At the bottom of your big red x is going to be this middle number, which is 7. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to a positive 12 and add to a positive 7. What are your signs going to be? Yes, they will be positive and positive. All right, let's find two numbers that multiply to 12, and they will add, because the signs are the same, they're going to add to 7. 1 times 12, does that add to 7? I don't think so. 2 times 6 doesn't add to 7. 3 times 4, bingo, 3 and 4. Let's get a little highlight across the x. We got it. Now, can we do the shortcut? Unfortunately, we cannot. So we're going to rewrite it. We're going to go to work, all right? Can't do the shortcut, so we got to go to work. When you go to work, you bring your shovel. When you bring your shovel, you got to dig out the middle. This middle is gone. The beginning is going to be 3x squared. The end is going to be plus 4 because of this here. We have plus 4 at the end. 3x squared at the beginning. In the middle, we put the sides of our x, plus 3 with an x, plus 4 with an x. Let's throw some parentheses around there. And let's get the GCF. What's the GCF of 3 and 3? That's going to be 3. What's the GCF of x squared and x? That's going to be x. We divide by 3x. 3x squared divided by 3x is x. 3x divided by 3x. Same thing on top, same thing on the bottom. That means it's got to be 1. Next, the third number, that sign comes down. 4 and 4, what's the GCF? That's going to be 4. Parentheses, divide by that GCF. 4x divided by 4 is x. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Do our parentheses match? They sure do. That's going to be one of our answers. This is going to be another answer. And when I say answer, I don't mean final answer. I just mean the factored form of it. We have to take it one step further. So let me write x plus 1, and we're going to set that equal to 0, and 3x plus 4, and we're going to set that equal to 0. All right. I probably am talking too much, so it was good to be quiet for a little bit, and you guys were probably thankful of that. 2 answers. X equals -1, and x equals -4 thirds. All right, I'm taking the break. I'm going to be back for the last 4 to do in a few minutes. Peace.